SHRM's competency-based certifications. SHRM's competency-based certifications are ready to build business success, are ready to shape, build the changing world of work.
I'm confident when I know an HR professional is SHRM certified.
Accredited SHRM certifications are the key to great HR.
And great HR makes great organizations.
I could tell right away ZipRecruiter was going to make hiring a lot easier.
Go to ZipRecruiter.com and post to over 100 job boards with one click. Then easily select the best candidates from one list. Try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/fast.
Nature's Bounty knows healthy cholesterol starts in your gut, so we made Cardio Health, an innovative way to support healthy cholesterol containing LRC, a probiotic strain that helps you metabolize dietary cholesterol, because we all want to be healthy for whatever comes next. Nature's Bounty Cardio Health.
This is Fracture. Just upload an image, place your order, and it'll show up at your door, beautifully printed directly on glass. And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas. This is new. This is a Fracture. Visit FractureMe.com and print one today.
It's unbelievable that people are living in here.
They look at us as if we're terrorists and we're bad, and we're not.
Oh my God.
With Birchbox, you receive a treat every month that's just for you. A curated box designed to make discovering new beauty products fun. Perfect for your busy life. It's easy. Fill out your beauty profile, and we'll send you a personalized mix of the best in makeup, fragrance, hair, and skincare. Just $10 a month. Visit Birchbox.com to sign up and choose your free welcome gift.
When we love someone, we want to do right by them.
What is this?
But habits are hard to break.
I mean, where are the habaneros?
And then there are things we can't control, like snoring. Now the answer is right under your nose. Introducing Theravent Anti-Snore Strips. Clinically shown to reduce snoring with the power of your own breathing.
Nice try.
There are always things that are hard to let go of. Now, snoring isn't one of them. Theravent. The answer is right under your nose.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Closed captioning brought to you by non-prescription IB-Guard for irritable bowel syndrome.
For years, I suffered from abdominal pain and bloating. My doctor recommended IB-Guard. Now, I'm in control of my IBS. Non-prescription IB-Guard calms the angry gut.
In just hours, President Trump heads to hurricane-battered Puerto Rico. This comes just days after he attacked the mayor of San Juan and criticized Puerto Ricans for not helping themselves. CNN's Boris Sanchez is live in Puerto Rico with more. How's it looking this morning, Boris?
Moving forward, the president is set to arrive here shortly before noon. He's going to be visiting a chapel. He's going to be visiting with some survivors of Hurricane Maria, meeting with the governor here, Ricardo Rosselló, and he's going to be taking part in a briefing where we expect the mayor of San Juan to attend. It's unclear what kind of contact the two might have, but as you saw over the weekend, Allison, the president was very aggressive going after Carmen Yulín Cruz on Twitter. She was less direct in her criticism of the president, essentially begging for help, and you get the sense that Puerto Ricans here are set to be receptive of the president if he comes with a helping hand. Keep in mind, we are getting good news in the sense that some patches of Puerto Rico are getting electricity, grocery stores are opening back up. Those lines that we've seen are much shorter, but there's still a tremendous demand for fuel and potable water. It will be a long time before Puerto Rico gets back on its feet, and this is really the first step in that process, Allison.
Okay, Boris, thank you very much for the update from there, slow and steady. Joining us now by phone is Lieutenant General Jeffrey Buchanan. He has taken on the lead role of these military operations in getting the relief to the places that need it most. General, thank you very much for taking time to talk to us this morning.
Thanks, Allison. Good morning.
How much of the island do you think you have been able to get food and supplies to?
Most of it. Actually, yesterday I was up in a town called Utuado, which is in the center of the island, and that's where our greatest concern has been because not all roads are open. We're delivering supplies to the places that are cut off by air, but we're getting the supplies out.
And, but yet, I mean, would you say it's just, you know, so that we have some sense, 20% of the island still hasn't gotten, you know, federal food and supplies?
No, I think actually it's less than that. The National Guard has done phenomenal work in helping the citizens clear routes and doing things, and you know, I think, like I said, I think it's less than that. But you know, we're doing fairly well in distributing food, water, and fuel. But you know, honestly, my greatest concern is really about the fuel at this point in time.
And what is the holdup with being able to get enough fuel?
Well, you know, because Puerto Rico is so isolated, we can't bring it in on the ground. So everything, and we're bringing in a little bit by air, but the big supplies need to come by ship. They have been arriving. They're continuing to arrive, and you know, as a reporter just mentioned minutes ago, gas lines are getting, in fact, shorter. But we can't get back to normalcy without people having gas in their cars.
Well, for sure. And by the way, General, while I have you, you know, I keep seeing these memes pop up on some sort of right-wing websites that say, you know, the truck drivers in Puerto Rico, they're not showing up. If only the truck drivers would show up to work, everything would be fine there. You're on the ground. Would it help if you had lines and lines of truck drivers? Are they the problem, or is fuel to put in the trucks the problem?
I think it's all related back to the problem. You know, we have military members delivering fuel right now. We do have truck drivers delivering fuel. I can't say how many, but the more Puerto Ricans we can actually get back to work, you know, this is all about helping Puerto Rico get back on the feet. But the long-term answer can't be the military. It's got to be getting the people back to work, getting the economy back to normal.
Well, sure. But I mean, are you saying that you're putting out the call right now to every truck driver on the island, and if they showed up, that there would be trucks with fuel ready for them to go?
Yeah, we're here supporting the governor, and the governor has asked for truck drivers to get back to work, and you know, I think that makes a lot of sense.
And is there fuel for their trucks?
The fuel, there is, at least in some cases. I don't think we have fuel waiting on trucks because we're using military means right now to deliver it.
Yeah, this is my point. Is the problem the truck drivers, or is the problem the fuel?
So they're there together.
You think that they're both equal problems. And why do you think that the truck drivers aren't showing up?
I got to refer you back to the truck drivers. I have no idea. I'm just a soldier here.
I understand, but do you think that it's possibly because there's no cell service and they don't know, and they can't, the roads are impassable and they don't know that there's fuel and that they can go back to work yet?
Well, the roads, cell service is certainly a problem throughout the island, and some places have better coverage than others. Roads initially were a problem. We've gotten all the major routes around the island cleared. Some of the routes cutting across the island are cleared now, but secondary roads are still blocked, and so that could be a problem.
Okay. General Jeffrey Buchanan, thank you very much for the status report. Obviously, we'll be watching very closely when the president shows up there, and we'll talk to you again. Thanks for being here. We have much more on the Las Vegas massacre, what we now know about the gunman and his life, and how it was seemingly escalating over the weeks before this. We'll bring you all the latest.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA. Every MyPillow is made with passion here in my home state of Minnesota to ensure you get the best sleep of your life.
One of the things that I really like about MyPillow is the support. It gives my neck a little hug.
I've never slept better in my life. What's better than a great night's sleep?
Sleep is one of the most important things to your health, and MyPillow is one of the most important things to your sleep.
Call or go to mypillow.com now, and Mike will give you 2 premiums for one low price.
I tried every pillow, from expensive down pillows that just went flat to fiber-filled pillows that rebound every time you move your head. I even tried those memory foam pillows, and the curve did not match my neck, and it probably won't match yours. That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned.
When I got my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
My Pillow lasts 10 years, is machine washable and dryable, and comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee.
I personally guarantee My Pillow will be the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own or your money back.
Call or go to mypillow.com now, and Mike will give you 2 My Pillow premiums for one low price. Use the promo code and you'll also receive free shipping. That's 2 My Pillow premiums for one low price.
With our 60-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose.
Sleep well, America! For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
This is CNN Breaking News.
You are watching New Day. Allison is in New York, and we are in Las Vegas. We have new information and insight into every part of this catastrophe. We have never seen a mass shooting like this. It is the deadliest in modern American history. The volume, the type of weapons, the positioning, the planning, all carried out by a mystery man with purely evil intentions. At least 59 people have lost their lives now, 527 injured, and the range of those injuries goes to the very severe. People are still fighting for their lives. We know that the gunman opened fire from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Resort that's just behind us. The hail of bullets targeting thousands of concert goers at an outdoor festival 500 yards away. We've never heard of this much gunfire for this long on this many innocent people. We've seen something else, frankly, that matters more. The evil of one countered by the love of many. Last night there was a truly poignant memorial for the victims. Among those killed, people who'd made a decision to give to others, teachers, a nurse, police employees, so many more stories to be taken. All of them share the reality that their lives were taken by a coward. Why this man decided to take his life by taking the lives of others, how he got the means to do it, they are both questions that matter. And the police say they found an arsenal in this guy's hotel room. 42 guns so far. Who knows what else they'll find. They also recovered thousands of rounds of ammo. They found explosive material in his car. And at this point, the police are still trying to deal with why? What drove a man to become a monster? A 64-year-old with no criminal past, no record or history to suggest he would have known how to do this, let alone how to get the things to do it. And then, of course, what would have made his heart so filled with evil? President Trump has been speaking about this situation, saying that we're united in pain and grief, and he says he will be here in Las Vegas tomorrow. But that will come after the president visits Puerto Rico today. Millions of Americans are there, and for them, it is not over. They are in the midst of a humanitarian crisis. We were there, and we are going to show you the reality of recovery. So we have it all covered for you this morning. Let's begin with Jean Casares. She's been following every step of what matters in this story. Jean.
Chris, so important to this investigation is the state of mind of Stephen Packard, the intent. So much premeditation. His brother Eric says he would never kill a bunch of people he didn't know, but the facts show anything but. Authorities are learning more about the gunman responsible for the Las Vegas massacre, 64-year-old Stephen Paddock. The retired accountant firing dozens of rounds onto thousands of concert goers about 500 yards away from 2 hotel windows he smashed on the 32nd floor at the Mandalay Bay. Police searching floor by floor until they found Paddock's room. This video shot by an NBC journalist staying at the hotel. Paddock exchanged fire with police through his hotel room door, shooting one security guard in the leg.
Everyone in the hall needs to move back. All units move back.
Staying at the hotel since last Thursday in a large suite. Investigators also finding another 19 weapons at his home in nearby Mesquite.
additional firearms, some explosives, and several thousand rounds of ammo, along with some electronic devices that we are evaluating at this point.
Investigators believe the guns were purchased legally, but according to law enforcement, initial reports suggest at least one rifle was altered to function as an automatic weapon. A gun shop owner in Utah is certain he sold a shotgun to Paddock earlier this year.
Times a day.
Police say Paddock wasn't on their radar with no criminal past and believe he acted alone. His brother Eric Paddock left stunned by the carnage, telling CNN he never exhibited any violent tendencies and had no affiliations with any terror or hate groups.
He bought the machine guns and he did this. And he's never even drawn his gun. It makes no sense. He did not own machine guns that I knew of. This is something just incredibly
Successful real estate investor who owned and rented several properties across multiple states. He also had an affinity for gambling, according to this couple who lived next door to Paddock for 2 years in Florida.
He was a gambler and a speculator, and he told us that right up front, since he was from Vegas. And he did a little online gambling, and he also did it in Vegas.
But the family has a troubled past. Paddock's father, Benjamin, was a convicted bank robber who escaped from prison in the late 60s and was on the FBI's most wanted list. Neighbors shocked by the news, some even describing him as a gentle giant.
You wouldn't recognize him as being anything out of the norm.
Search warrants have been executed at his hotel room, at his home in Mesquite, Nevada, and at property in Reno, Nevada. We don't know everything they collected, the entire inventory, but Chris, at the very last press conference, which was late last night, we finally learned there was a computer in that hotel room. Forensic investigators will be combing for answers to just understand why he did what he did.
They can learn a lot, and they can learn it quickly. Gene, thank you very much. Let's discuss the latest on the investigation with CNN law enforcement analyst James Gagliano. James, it's good to have you here. Thank you very much. All right, so outstanding issues. One, why haven't they called this terror? Undetected.
Sure, to purchase that many weapons. And remember, Chris, each weapon has what's akin to a fingerprint on it. It's got a serial number on there. So they can be traced and tracked. And I am confident that that's what's going on right now, to find out where and how he accrued these weapons. Were they, as you pointed out, something he accrued over a 40-year period because he was a 64-year-old gentleman, could have started buying his weapons when he was 21 years old.
Those are two big variables, though. If he modified them, that goes to, well, who taught him how to do that? It's not the hardest thing in the world to do, but that's one. But if they were automatic, then you got to have a special license or permit, even in the most lax state. You have to have a federal permit to get a lot of that stuff, or you buy it on the black market.
And I think some of the reports out now are that there were 2 tripods found in the room. We know that there were 2 shooting positions, which essentially put together a cone of fire, a killing field, if you will. Now, tripods are not typically used for a .308. I know the police recovered a .308. They're used for crew-served weapons. You're talking about an M60 or a belt-fed type weapon.
Like military-grade stuff.
Typically, other weapons, like an M16 or an M4, could have a bipod on it. Even a .308 could have a bipod on it. So he literally set up 2 shooting positions, moved back and forth between the 2 shooting positions, so as much chaos as possible and kill as many people as possible.
How do you learn how to do that? To set up, to know how to make something automatic if it's not automatic already, or to have them firing at the same time and set up the positions and know about high ground and know about a cone of death or a funnel effect. Where did he get that? No military background.
From the premeditation standpoint, and again, part of this is speculative, we're putting these pieces together. We know that the concert was announced back in February, which would have given him time, if he had a particular grievance with the crowd there, We also know that he probably asked for that room having that downward view of the concert area. And that doesn't raise suspicions on his face, Chris, because you walk in, you say, hey, I want a room so I can watch the concert from upstairs. Then to bring the weapons upstairs. I mean, this is not something you throw in a backpack. Couple of theories or thoughts, and I'm sure that this is going to have been picked up on video. He could have secreted them in a golf bag. He could have broken the weapons down. A lot of the weapons would have collapsed into smaller pieces, maybe a foot or foot and a half wide. Put them in a rolling duffel so it wasn't look like he was struggling with it, or brought it up in several ways.
And that's another issue. No place in the world watches people like they do in Las Vegas, but it's what they're looking for. This was not what they were trying to identify as a threat. Will that change? We'll see. James, thank you very much. We're going to have to unpack a lot more, and as we learn more, we will. And part of that task is now to Alex Marquardt. He joins us right now because he's taken us through the police side, but also something that you just have to remember in this situation. One man was a monster, but there were so many on the ground who did so much to change the situation for the better, and that's a big part of the story. Alex, you got that for us.
I do, Chris. I mean, you were just talking about who was there that night on the ground as people were falling, said it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Now, we are out here outside the sheriff's office. We are learning a lot more about how this horrible tragedy took place, about the background of the shooter, but we are also learning about how in those incredible dark moments that there were so many great human elements, people helping each other, coming to rescue each other as people fell around them.
When the first gunshots rang out, concertgoers didn't realize what they were.
It just sounded like fireworks, almost fake.
1,000 country music fans tried to find cover from the hail of bullets.
Not sure what's going on out there. We're in this ice cooler right now.
Musician Brian Hopkins hid in a backstage freezer after running from the gunfire.
We see a guy right in front of us goes down, then another person goes down, and guys, I turn, bang, bang, 2 girls go down behind us. So I grabbed the 2 girls that are standing in front of me and grabbed them and took them with me.
Anthony Rabone, an off-duty paramedic, sprang into action to save his brother.
The real moment I realized that it was gunshots was when I heard my brother say, I got hit, and I turned around and I saw him coughing up blood.
Using a piece of plastic and some Band-Aids to cover his chest wound. Sonny Melton grabbed his wife Heather and was ushering her to safety when he was shot in the back. He died trying to save her.
Most people started scattering and they climbed the fence, but I had to stay with my buddy.
Mike Kronk rushed to help his friend, who was shot 3 times in the chest.
So we got him over the fence once the fires stopped and slid him under his stage so we were safe.
Vanessa, an off-duty nurse, initially ran for cover as well, but then her training kicked in and she ran back into harm's way.
We went back because I'm a nurse and I just felt that I had to. So I went to 3 different scenes, and by the time I got to the 3rd one, there was just dead bodies.
Addison Short was shot in the leg while trying to get away. A stranger came to her aid.
And so I dove under this bar to get cover, and this guy helped me wrap my foot because it was just gushing out blood everywhere. I just want to, if the guy that helped me is watching, I really just want to tell him how grateful I am for basically saving my life.
Coming to light.
There were so many people, just normal citizens, doctors, cops, paramedics, nurses, just off duty. Everyone's just communicating and working together. It was completely horrible, but it was absolutely amazing to see all the people come together.
Chris, you have been asking your guest this morning whether this should be considered an act of terrorism. That is a question that the sheriff here has repeatedly been getting. He has been saying that they have to wait and see what the motivation of the shooter was. The White House, of course, has also been getting this question. Yesterday said that because this is an ongoing investigation, it is premature to weigh in on something like that before the facts are established. So neither local authorities nor the White House calling the biggest massacre in modern U.S. history an act of domestic terrorism. Chris?
And look, and we understand why that's frustrating for people because they also seem to see terror in that label as giving gravity to how wrong something is. But without a trial and with no clear connection to a larger organization, it becomes less important for the investigators. Alex, thank you very much. Stay on that reporting. We'll have you back. Joining us now are people who represent the most important part of this story, those who survived. Bowden Derby and Madison Viray. They are brothers-in-law, but they are brothers in a whole new way after what happened. Gentlemen, it is good to have you both here. Thank God. I find you both well.
Thank you.
I know that everything's coming at you a million miles an hour, because who expects to live through something like this? But when you think back to what you made it through, how are you feeling about it this morning?
It's a little over 24 hours now since the incident, and it's starting to get that point where it's starting to sink in a little bit more of what's actually happening. The past 24 hours I've kind of been in a haze, just a dark haze of trying to figure out and trying to process the information. You see so much and you go through so much trying to get in every sense of the way, and just to be able to say that we survived, this is pretty incredible in itself.
Is it terrible?
Now, you guys are okay? Everybody you were with, everybody you knew, Madison, did they get out of there?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
All right, thank God for that.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the people who were there last night and got out, and he said, it just hit me. There was somebody who was trying to kill me in that place. Doesn't know me, doesn't know any of us, was trying to kill me. How do you handle that part of this?
I mean, when you put it into those kind of words, like I said, I'm with that. Once the bullets started flying and kind of just soaring over us, the first thing you want to do is just get out. You want to find who you're with, your loved ones, help anybody immediate right by you, and just get out. I mean, obviously you want to live to see the next day. So to think about it that way kind of puts it into a new perspective of, somebody was trying to murder me. It hits close to home. It like we were talking about before, we're going to question going to concerts from now on. My sister was really shaken up by the incident. I know my parents were. And just, it's amazing that we were able to get out uninjured and safe,
You got to process the good part of it as well, that you did get out, that you got, you guys, young, beautiful guys, you got your whole lives in front of you. And that's a reality that's probably a little bit more meaningful than it was before going to the concert. And an aspect of this that is important is you weren't together, right? I mean, the group had gotten a little separated. Some of you were with the together. Take me through that.
We had initially, my wife and I, his sister, were in the background. We were sitting down on the grass because we were tired. It was the last day of the concert, so we were sitting down in the back and we were watching from the back, looking at the large projector on the screen, and he had gone up with several of our other family. That we would actually end up seeing him through the crowd. We didn't end up getting him. We ended up going into the back end of the Tropicana and finding shelter in there, and we were able to actually get a hold of him on the phone and met with him at the front entrance of the Tropicana.
What was that phone call like for you?
It was incredible. At that point, I was with my aunt, my cousin, and his girlfriend. And it was the same thing. You've been seeing it all over, all the witness accounts of people saying, "Oh, we just saw act in a scared way" at that point. And for us, it was when Aldine decided to book it off stage. That's when we all knew it was serious and we hit the floor. And again, you hear it, like I said, from a lot of people. We had no idea where the shooter was coming from. It sounded like multiple shooters, just the way that gun was rattling off. We didn't know if he was trying to, climb over the gate to get by the stage. Because that's where the majority of people were standing. And so everyone at that point had just fallen to the floor. Just get as low as you possibly can. I look over, I see my cousin. He was shielding his girlfriend. He laid on top of her. I was with these, like I said, I was with my aunt as well. I turned around and I found her, and I'll never forget the look in her eyes. It was the look of, you know, are we about to die? Is this it? And at that moment, it was just, we need to get later. But, you know, when we hit the floor, I was on top of them, so got my aunt, and everyone kind of started running at the same time. And once I saw that, you know, you don't just pose, you're not just dealing with the danger of the shooting at this point. Now you're dealing with the danger of getting trampled on. You know, you have these females with you who are petite, and the last thing you want to see them, you know, you don't want to see them getting run over, stomped on, because like I said, at that point, everyone's just trying to get out. So I kind of said, I was like, just wait a second, because like I didn't know we were being sniped.
Right.
So, you know, we were sitting there, and I waited a few seconds, and then I grabbed him. I said, okay, now let's go. When I saw that there was kind of enough space to go, and we were able to start going. At that point, there was no gunfire yet. He had, presumably, I think he was reloading. And about a few seconds in to us trying to get away, you could hear him start rattling off again. At that point, I saw a House of Blues tent. It was a bar that was covered. It wasn't necessarily a tent. They called it a tent, but it was more like a solid cover. And I kind of grabbed those girls I was with. They grabbed my hands, and I grabbed them and I kind of shoved them into that tent area just to get cover, because, like I said, we don't know where the shooting was coming from. So we went in there, and I turned around and I looked, and couldn't see my aunt, I couldn't see my cousin and his girlfriend. They had decided to go a different direction. And that was tough in itself, not knowing, you know, where they were going to go, if they were going to be okay. You know, and in that tent, you have people just crumbled with fear. They were laying there, they were, you know, crying. They didn't know what to do. They were frozen. And it was just a matter of, you know, do we sit here like sitting ducks? We didn't know that, like I said, that the shooter was going to try and come in. So we made it
right. That's what matters. You're going to have a realization of all kinds of evil things you never had to contemplate before. But as you know now with your wife and having made it out, you have a realization of the blessings in your lives as well. You got each other, you made it through this, and for you two and your family, your loved ones, life goes on. That matters just as much as what you had to make it through to get to this point. So hey, I'm so happy to meet you and meet you well. And thank you for getting people out of there and doing your best. All right, fellas? Staying just a few doors down from this mass murderer. What he says happened when police stormed his room, because remember, the response, the timing, what it took, what these guys had to take on, all matters. And we're going to keep telling you about the people who lost their lives. They are who matter most. Please stay with us.
Kick it, yes you can, and I kick it, yes you can. Well, I'm gone.
Top critics are cheering.
Man versus woman.
Let's play. Battle of the Sexes is dynamite.
I'm gonna put the show back in chauvinism.
Oh my God.
Massively entertaining.
I just want to thank you for your bravery and your balls.
Emma Stone. One of the year's best pictures. Battle of the Sexes. Rated PG-13. Now playing everywhere.
Our sale email this month looks great. The store will be packed this weekend.
I've got to wax my mustache.
Constant Contact email marketing. Powerful stuff.
This is a quest to explore the wonders of our world.
Never seen anything like this before.
Go there before it's gone. The Wonderland.
Habits are hard to break.
Honey, where are the habaneros?
And then there are things we can't control, like snoring. Now the answer is right under your nose. Introducing Theravent Anti-Snore Strips. Clinically shown to reduce snoring with the power of your own breathing.
Nice try.
There are always things that are hard to let go of. Now, snoring isn't one of them. Theravent. The answer is right under your nose.
This is Dave, his dog Cooper, and I'm Randy. We sell socks. Why socks? Socks shouldn't fall down. Fixed. Lack of arch support. Fixed. Socks shouldn't have an annoying seam. Fixed. The result? Socks so comfortable we've been able to sell and donate over 2.5 million pairs. Get an additional 20% off your first order at bombas.com.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
"59 lives stolen by one man, 500 others injured at an outdoor concert that took place just behind us." Joining us now is Brad Baker. He was staying right down the hall from this mass murder on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Resort. We also have Veronica Maldonado. She lost a friend. Her name was Angela Gomez, and we're going to learn more about what was lost when Angela left this earth. So, Brad, let me get from you first. So you're asleep. It's noisy.
Trying to sleep, yeah.
What happens?
So I was trying to sleep. I finally got to sleep through the break before the last performer got on. And then I'm just kind of tossing and turning, and I start hearing loud noises. I figured it was just the concert. So I'm just laying there, and then two police officers with their pistols and flashlights come barging in the room and say, "We got to go right now." So
they were telling you, did it register that they weren't in there for you? They were in there to help you get out.
I thought, that I had done something wrong. I was like, there's no way I did anything wrong. But so yeah, I thought that. Then I hopped up. I had to put some shorts on. I didn't have my phone or wallet or anything on me, obviously, and they said, "You had to go right now. We got to leave right now."
They tell you why?
No, in all the confusion, I don't think I really understood what was going on. So I said, "Just wait, let me get a shirt at least." And so I got my shirt, and then got in right into the hallway, and there's one officer with his AR going down the hallway, and another with a shotgun right next to him. I hugged the wall and run as fast as I could to the elevator bay.
And by the time you get down there, had you heard anything to that point? Or you were able to get out before anything happened?
Yeah, there's nothing had happened to me, and then there was about 5 or 6 other folks in the elevator bay. We were all kind of huddled in there. Yeah.
And in that trying to get to sleep phase, were you hearing anything that you now know was gunfire?
Definitely. There's a poor guy. So I just tried to, calm him and look at him keep him happy that everything was okay.
You telling him everything's okay. What were you telling yourself?
Just trying to remain calm and make sure that I was staying safe, basically.
It's impossible to just think about what was happening down the hall from you. What do you tell yourself about it?
I saw the little boy, and I thought about my own daughter who's 4, and so I just told myself, just don't risk it, just get out as fast as you can when you can.
Veronica, we know people didn't get to leave that concert that night. They have to be remembered. We have to know who was lost and what they meant to the people here. Angie Gomez is one of them. I know you knew each other for a long time. Tell us about your friend.
Hi, yeah. So I've known Angela since I was 12 years old, for 8 years. She's just a sweetheart, definitely. Never, ever would have expected this to happen to her, and for this to be the way she goes. She was a natural caregiver. She was studying to be a nurse. Very family oriented.
I'm looking at you too. I'm looking at you too, Veronica, and boy, you could be sisters. And I know that you believe you shared a heart with her and that she had just gotten into a nursing program. She had her whole life in front of her. What did she want for her life? What were her dreams?
She just wanted a regular, normal life. She had a boyfriend of 4 years who loved her so, so much. Their relationship was just something straight out of a movie, and we would always joke around that they would be the first one of us to get married. And just, I see her, in 10 years, just typical white picket fence family, living her best life. And I know that she had the time of her life this weekend, and just knowing that her last weekend was spent doing something she loved, listening to country music and being with the love of her life I'm okay with that rather than something else.
I know you started a GoFundMe page, and you want to help the family. You've raised a lot of money now. I think it's getting close to $50,000. What does that mean to her family?
It's honestly amazing. We're all just in shock that, it's had this much of a outpour of people. Riverside is an amazing community. They've always helped each other, helped one another when families have needed this. And I'm just so in awe of all of the donations. Our original plan was just $10,000, and we achieved that in 3 hours only. So the fact that it's almost at 50,000 is unbelievable. I know that her family wants to start a foundation with everything that is left over from the money. So it's just amazing.
Well, and that's important for people to know, that they want to help others with the money. And it was really big-hearted of you to try and help them make their daughter's life matter even more than it did, so that even though she's gone, people will be benefited in her name. I'm sorry for your loss, and I hope that you're okay going forward. And please send our best and our condolences to the family. All right, so that's Veronica. And hey,
man.
I'm glad that you got out of there and you listened to the first responders.
Yeah.
And I know you're dying to go see your daughter.
Yeah.
Enjoy your life going forward. That's the biggest lesson.
Thanks,
all right?
Chris.
Thanks for being with us. I appreciate it. Allison, we're going to keep focusing on the stories of the people who made it through and helped others to do the same, and the lives that were lost, because those are the lives that matter most. It took one man to ruin all these other lives. He matters the least in this situation.
All right, Chris, thank you very much for all of the reporting from there. We'll be back to you in a minute. Meanwhile, President Trump is facing, obviously, a major leadership test with these two big crises on his hands. He heads to Puerto Rico today, then Las Vegas tomorrow. What's going on inside the White House during all of this? That's ahead, as we remember the lives lost in the tragedy in Las Vegas.
Through the cloud, all over the world.
The business model is completely different.
Yes, it is.
How are we going to handle all this?
We aren't.
People who know BDO.
If you just sign that first
I'm
one
so
there.
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the math here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation fee?
I'm so sorry. This just is not.
What we talked about.
Get the car without the car salesman. Carvana.com, the better way to buy a car.
At Humana, we believe great things are ahead of you when you start with healthy. And part of staying healthy means choosing the right Medicare plan. Humana can help. With Original Medicare, you're covered for hospital stays and doctor office visits when you're sick, but keep in mind you'll have to pay a deductible for each. A Medicare supplement plan can cover your deductibles and coinsurance, but you may pay higher premiums than you do with other plans, and prescription drug coverage isn't included. But with an all-in-one Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you could get all that coverage plus Part D prescription drug benefits, all for an affordable monthly plan premium, and in some areas, no plan premium. It's all described in this free book and DVD. Call for yours and discover how an all-in-one Medicare Advantage plan from Humana could save you money. Call 1-800-833-0635. That's 1-800-833-0635. Now.
I could tell right away ZipRecruiter was going to make hiring a lot easier.
Go to ZipRecruiter.com and post to over 100 job boards with one click. Then easily select the best candidates from one list. Try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/fast.
It's the 10th season of Parts Unknown, and I still have a job? Who saw that coming?
Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown. New episodes Sundays at 9 on CNN.
You won't see these folks at the post office. They have businesses to run. They have passions to pursue. How do they avoid trips to the post office? Stamps.com. Mail letters. Ship packages. All the services of the post office right on your computer. Get a 4-week trial plus $100 in extras, including postage and a digital scale. Go to stamps.com/try and never go to the post office again.
When we love someone, we want to do right by them.
What is this?
But habits are hard to break.
Honey, where are the habaneros?
And then there are things we can't control, like snoring. Now, the answer is right under your nose. Introducing Theravent Anti-Snore Strips. Clinically shown to reduce snoring with the power of your own breathing.
Nice try.
There are always things that are hard to let go of. Now, snoring isn't one of them. Theravent. The answer is right under your nose.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
President Trump facing a major leadership test with these two major crises. In just minutes, the president will head to Puerto Rico to tour the storm-ravaged island, and then tomorrow he heads to Las Vegas following the massacre there. Let's talk about how he will do it all with our CNN political analysts. We have David Gregory and Maggie Haberman joining us from D.C. Great to have both of you. So, Maggie, let me start with you, because there's these two national catastrophes. Obviously, everything that we've seen in Puerto Rico with the humanitarian crisis there, people not getting aid fast enough, according to people on the ground, and then this massacre in Las Vegas. Do you have a sense of what's going on inside the White House in terms of preparing the president to deal with these two things that no president ever asks for?
Sure. Look, the White House is very aware that this is a major leadership test this week for the president, a president for whom the rhythm of grievance and the rhythm of disasters has not always come, I would say almost never has come naturally. They're more concerned about the trip to Puerto Rico today than they are about the trip to Las Vegas. Tomorrow, Las Vegas, he's expected to be surrounded by law enforcement. Puerto Rico is going to, I think, pose a different challenge, especially after his weekend Twitter attack on the San Juan mayor. What they are trying to convince him to do is basically stay focused on thanking the first responders who were helping from outside and the first responders who were there on the ground in Puerto Rico in the first place. We will see if the president is able to maintain that. As we know, he has often had trouble sticking to a script, especially on these longer days. He did do well, at least, or was perceived as doing well after the hurricanes in Texas and in Florida, and he's going to have to really call on that spirit and muster some of that on this trip today.
David, let's just remind people about what happened this weekend, where the president did go after the mayor of San Juan, who had on our show made this sort of passionate plea that aid was not getting there soon enough and that people were dying. And the president responded by saying such poor leadership ability by the mayor of San Juan and others in Puerto Rico who are not able to get their workers to help. They want everything to be done for them when it should be a community effort. 10,000 federal workers now on the island doing a fantastic job. The mayor of Puerto Rico will be at these hearings. This could be awkward.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't understand why the president would
would attack someone who's on the ground trying to deal with disaster. At the very least, if you think that a leader is off base, give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're dealing with so much. They're dealing with a crisis. They've got so much on their plate. So that's not him. He tends to attack anyone who attacks him. Look, whether it's Puerto Rico and then in Las Vegas, these are moments that you don't plan for. The presidency is not something that Donald Trump planned for. You really have to get outside of yourself. And I think in the case of Puerto Rico, it is to insist upon what is being done for the island, how much more has to be done. And he represents not just himself, he represents the presidency. People look to the President of the United States as someone who's going to be able to help, who can marshal resources in a way that no one else can, to be able to make their lives better. If your government can't look after you, then who else can? Not all the private aid, not Pitbull's private jet. Those are incredible acts of kindness. But the federal government has an ability to really make a huge difference. He's got to be able to communicate that. In terms of Puerto Rico and Las Vegas, we'll keep talking.
Let's talk about Las Vegas. So, Maggie, you know, obviously there's this apocalypse that has happened there. And now all sorts of people who have connections to Las Vegas, like Jimmy Kimmel, who grew up there. He just made, you know, his own sort of emotional statement about it last night. So, and of course, what the government and Congress can do. So listen to this.
Here we are again in the aftermath of another terrible, inexplicable, shocking and painful tragedy, this time in Las Vegas, which happens to be my hometown. There's probably no way to ever know why a human being would do something like this to other human beings who are at a concert. It's the kind of thing that it makes you want to throw up or give up. It's too much to even process.
So, Maggie, what do you think the president's tone will be?
I think the president is going to be, I think that everything that Jimmy Kimmel said is correct about this, that it is convulsive in how terrible it is. I think what the president is going to try to do is stay away from or at least he's been advised, is to stay away from the discussion of gun control, which really is where you're starting to see the discussion move. You didn't see it right away, right after the shootings and as the death toll was becoming clear. But he is being advised to be presidential, to be loftier, to be above a larger debate. That said, while he might be able to do that Wednesday and he might be able to succeed in doing that through the day, he's not going to be able to do that forever. There is going to be a larger debate about gun control, and this is a president who has taken various positions on the issue of gun control over the years, as he has on most other issues. A lot of his supporters are wondering whether he is going to adhere to what was pretty strict support for the Second Amendment during 2016. Remember, the NRA was one of his biggest outside supporters, $30 million on his candidacy in 2016. How he responds to this is going to be very telling.
One thing before you respond, David, Axios has an article this morning in which they quote Steve Bannon as saying that if the president were to somehow move towards fighting gun violence through gun control of some kind, Steve Bannon is quoted as saying, impossible, period, that would be the end of everything, meaning the support from the base.
Right, and so I think that's an incredibly difficult area for him, which I'll come back to in a second, but I just want to pull back. Whether you think about the Oklahoma City bombing, which killed 168 people, including those children in the daycare center, or you think about 9/11, the response by the president at that time very much defined their presidencies. For Bill Clinton, it helped him overcome the loss of the congressional elections in 1994, sent him on a different heading. And for President Bush, of course, it defined his presidency. There would be other things in the war in Iraq and so forth that would also define it. But that resolve in the face of that tragedy and that attack did so much. I do think that Donald Trump faces that moment, one that he's not accustomed to as a political person, but one that he's got to absorb as a way to kind of bring people together.
The president has just put out his first tweet in 24 hours. It just crossed the transom. This is what he's thinking about this morning. I am so proud of our great country. God bless America. Okay, I think we can all get behind that.
Right. I mean, look, there is, out of something that is so difficult to process at this stage, as Jimmy Kimmel was saying, the stories that we're telling this morning on the air really highlight what we do for each other when something awful happens. And I think you saw that on the ground in Las Vegas. I think that sentiment is certainly appropriate, and there'll be a lot more space for him to comment more and to say more. And I think, just before, I think on the issue of I'll give it back to you.
Are they rapping you? Are they giving you the hard rap in your ear like they are me?
I'm used
to it. On that note, you know what? Stay tuned. David will be back at some point to finish that thought. Maggie, thank you. David, thank you. Let's go to Chris, who is on the ground for us in Las Vegas with all of the stories of the past 24 hours. Chris.
What we saw here in Las Vegas is people stepping up to help one another after an evil act. We just came from Puerto Rico, and when the president gets on the ground there, he's going to see a reality the likes of which he has never seen before. He's also going to see a test of the proposition that he just tweeted. What is it that makes us proud about being Americans? It is our diversity and our ability to come together in a time of need. That has never been needed more than what you're going to see next. We will take you to Puerto Rico. We will show you what we saw on the ground and heard from the people there who are in desperate need. And here from Las Vegas, we're going to continue to show you the lives that were stolen here in Las Vegas. Please take a look.
People magazine declares Victoria and Abdul is now a people's pick, and it's terrifically entertaining.
I haven't been as happy as this for years.
Judi Dench is perfection.
Great. To me.
Victoria and Abdul, based on the untold true story, rated PG-13.
It's unbelievable that people are living in here.
They look at us as if we're terrorists and we're bad, and we're not. Oh my God.
He's using a CPAP machine for his sleep apnea. Now he sleeps like a baby. But if it isn't cleaned well, it could make him sick. I'm so relieved we found the So Clean sanitizer.
I'm Dr. Joseph Cranen, a sleep apnea specialist. I recommend So Clean to my patients because it kills 99.9% of bacteria and germs, significantly reducing the risk of infection from an improperly cleaned CPAP.
Just drop the mask in and walk away. No more taking it apart and washing by hand every day. So Clean safely sanitizes and disinfects your mask, hose, and reservoir without any harsh chemicals and works on all popular CPAPs. Try the world's first automated CPAP sanitizer risk-free for 30 days. Call 800-902-6029.
And no more getting sick from a dirty CPAP.
Call now to try So Clean risk-free for 30 days. Call 800-902-6029 or visit trysoclean.com.
The Wonder List with Bill Weir, Saturday at 9 on CNN.
In just minutes, President Trump is going to head to hurricane-ravaged Puerto Rico. The president is going to get his first look at the actual devastation. He's going to meet, hopefully, for the first time, with the people who are actually living in what is a hell there. The island is in shambles, and what you will see is not the worst of it. It's what people are feeling, what they don't have, what you can't see. No food, no water, no power. There's a new phrase on that island, agua y luz, you keep hearing. Water and light, or water and power. The need is so great, and the one man they're looking to is going to arrive there today. Here's what we were told. Here's what we saw about the reality of the recovery.
Esta es mi casa, que se cayó la de arriba, cayó para abajo.
A la cámara.
¿Ah?
A la cámara.
Oh.
Kenuel wants to tell you directly. His house was destroyed. Now they have nothing. These kids' smiles betray the obvious. Everything is gone. And there's another obvious truth here in Toa Baja, just 15 minutes from the capital of San Juan. There is not enough help. So you still don't have the help you need, and you don't know when you're going to get it?
No.
Kayla Valdez Guzman says no one has the answer for where to get help. They're trying to move back into this muddy mess. The whole top floor is a death trap. They say they have no choice. This is all that's left of the kids' toys. But like everyone we meet on the island, they're making the best of it. Houses like this were filled with water for days. Here's a picture. Everywhere you go, what was inside is now outside. Streets too often a maze of downed power lines and trees. There is progress. Cars, traffic. Lines for gas are still hours long, but you can buy as much as you can carry, if you have cash. Some fast food is open, as is a pharmacy, with people waiting for essentials. But a reminder of the despair is always near. A soccer field, now a rancid dump, where we're told rats the size of cats come at night. But we see no government vehicles, no word of FEMA or any other agency bringing help. This was the closest thing we saw.
Juntos como pueblo lograremos levantarnos.
The voice says where to go to file a FEMA claim and wishes people well. There is no cell service here. Most of the towers are down or look like this. So if you're not within earshot of the speaker, you just wait for agua y luz, water and power, like Felix and 3 generations of his family.
Esa es la línea del agua. Okay, this is where the water was.
They've been cleaning and gathering what they can, but as for help coming, he says all he's heard are rumors. Nobody's come here yet. Time is the enemy, and people like Rafael live in fear. His store filled only with the stench of rotting food. He says he wants to provide for his community, but he can't get power and water.
A través de ustedes, ¿verdad? Que esto lo ven allá afuera.
He says we are the closest thing to outside help he's seen. 2 weeks in, that's almost too much to take.
Now, obviously, we thought we were going to be anchoring the show from Puerto Rico when the president got there. That became just impossible because of what we've been dealing with here in Las Vegas. But we know 2 things for sure. All right, Allison? 1, the first responders are there. They're there in significant numbers, and they're working their butts off. There's no question about it. And any criticism certainly does not go to the hearts and effort of what you're seeing first responders do there on the ground. And here's the other thing. It ain't enough. They have huge logistical nightmares. The relief that is needed is not getting to the people who need it most. And that's not because people don't want to help them. That's never been the issue.
Yeah.
It's just not getting done. Logistics, divisions of government, divisions of responsibility, leadership. That's what the problems are, and the people are paying the price.
Yeah, but I mean, Chris, this is what's so vexing about covering the story and why it's so important to have folks like you and all of our team on the ground there, because the story is so different. The discrepancy between what the federal government is saying. I just interviewed General Buchanan, who says, yeah, you know, food and supplies have gotten to virtually all of the island. You know, they're touting their success. And then when we hear the people on the ground who say it's been 2 weeks and we haven't gotten food. So, you know, this is the story that we need to keep
both are
covering.
true.
Yeah.
Both are true. They might have gotten things to 78 municipalities, but if I don't have a cell phone, then I don't know that. And if you haven't told me how to get there and I don't have a car, then it's no help to me.
Yeah.
So both things can be true, but the reality remains the same. The need is great. Hopefully the president sees that, and he lives that reality for the people there. They need him.
Yeah. All right, Chris, we'll be back with you in a second. This is the only level 1 trauma center in Nevada. So how doctors training there helped them handle this unprecedented catastrophe. Next.
Top critics are cheering.
Man versus woman.
Let's play.
Battle of the Sexes is dynamite.
I'm gonna put the show back in chauvinism.
Oh my God.
Massively entertaining.
I just want to thank you for your bravery and your balls.
Emma Stone pulls off a mind-bending transformation.
I can really change things.
And Steve Carell proves a winning match.
The male is king, the male is supreme.
Says who?
In one of the year's best pictures, Battle of the Sexes. Rated PG-13. Now playing everywhere.
It's time to get smart about home security.
Introducing Floodlight Cam by Ring, a motion-activated security light with an HD camera.
Don't even think about it.
With Floodlight Cam, you can stop crime before it happens. Protecting your home has never been easier. Available at ring.com.
Prudential asked these couples, how much money do you think you'll need in retirement? Then we found out how many years that money would last them.
How long do you think we'll keep me? Girl, leave me back here at year 9? How did this happen?
It turned out a lot of people fell short of even the average length of retirement.
We have to think about not when we expect to live to, but when we could live to.
Let's plan for income that lasts all our years of retirement.
Prudential, bring your challenges.
Arthritis, my back pain.
It hurts all over.
Wherever you feel pain, it can be managed from here with Quell. From this optimal point, the revolutionary Quell technology accesses the central nervous system. It sends precise neural pulses to the brain that trigger your body's own natural pain blockers. Quell is 100% drug-free, FDA-cleared, and easy to use. And for 4 out of 5 people, it works. Reclaim your life from chronic pain. Go to getquell.com or find a retailer near you.
If you have moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, and your symptoms have left you with the same view, it may be time for a different perspective. If other treatments haven't worked well enough, ask your doctor about Entyvio, the only biologic developed and approved just for UC and Crohn's. Entyvio works by focusing right in the GI tract to help control damaging inflammation and is clinically proven to begin helping many patients achieve both symptom relief as well as remission. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. While not reported with Entyvio, PML, a rare serious brain infection caused by a virus, may be possible. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Entyvio. If your UC or Crohn's medication isn't working for you, ask your gastroenterologist about Entyvio. Entyvio, relief and remission within reach.
HelloFresh fits my schedule, it fits my budget, it fits my life.
Simple steps, fun, delicious ingredients pre-portioned out. When you're done, you have like a masterpiece.
Go to HelloFresh.com and use code TV30 to save $30 off your first box. HelloFresh, get cooking.
When shots rang out in Las Vegas, the doctors and nurses at University Medical Center, the state's only level 1 trauma center, jumped into action. Within minutes, 100 victims were rushed into their ER. Because of their hard work, the patients who arrived at the hospital alive have all survived. Joining us now is Dr. John Files. He's the trauma medical director at the University Medical Center. Dr. Files, thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning. Can you just bring us back to that moment when you heard that a disaster was unfolding and that victims were headed in your direction?
Well, it was shortly after the first shots rang out, and we activated our disaster plan, and were able to bring in dozens of teams of doctors, anesthesiologists, OR crews, nurses, technicians, and so forth. Once the patients started arriving, it was just a matter of creating throughput in the initial treatment area and trauma and emergency department, and to open up additional new wards within the hospital to get these patients into beds and to continue their care.
Doctor, we understand that you have, I think, 2 disaster drills a year where you prepare for the unthinkable. And do you think that those are do you credit those for why you were able to save so many people?
Well, there's no question that played into it. The whole county exercises twice a year. So from command and control all the way down to scene and pre-hospital medicine and in-hospital medicine, all of those steps are rehearsed each year. And there's no question that contributed to a favorable response here.
In fact, I understand that you drilled in the past on what would happen if something horrible unfolded at a big concert venue, which is actually what ended up happening. How similar was your drill to then the real life catastrophe?
I believe that it was comparable in terms of staff preparation, and these drills will rotate looking at maybe the top 5 or top 10 most likely scenarios for a disaster. In this case, we had anticipated something like this could happen someday. We were prepared for it.
And could you prepare for the idea that you'd be seeing hundreds and hundreds of gunshot wounds?
We'd considered that that's a possibility here, the same as we considered that an airline crash is a possibility or that a terrorism attack is a possibility. Those are all things that we drill for.
So the patients that are in your hospital today and that came in yesterday, can you just tell us what condition they're in? Do you have people who are still in critical condition there?
Yes.
You can take that. I mean, look, your business, your job is much busier, so you can take that beeper if you need to go or whatever's happening, that message that you need to read.
Okay.
Okay. So tell us about the conditions there of the patients.
So about a quarter of the patients are still in critical but stable condition. Most of the other patients have been downgraded from serious to stable.
Okay, that's really good news. And obviously, all of your training and your calm and collectedness in the face of this catastrophe obviously saved lives. Dr. Files, thank you very much for all the work you're doing and for being on with us.
Thank you. Glad I could be here.
Me too. We're following a lot of news, so let's get right to it.
This is CNN Breaking News.
All right, to our viewers in the United States and around the world, you are watching New Day. It's Tuesday, October 3rd, 8 o'clock in the East. I'm in Las Vegas. Allison is in New York, and we are learning more about the despicable man who carried out one of the most evil things we've seen in this country, the deadliest mass shooting in modern American history. Right now, we know 59 people have lost their lives. 527 have been injured. Many of them are serious injuries. A murderer opened fire from a 32nd floor window, two of them actually, at the Mandalay Bay Resort just behind us. The hail of bullets targeting thousands of concert goers at an outdoor festival some 500 yards away. We saw one evil act. We have seen so many beautiful demonstrations of heroism and people choosing to love over hate. We saw it at the memorial last night, the victims being remembered, and so many of them are demonstrations of people who gave back to others, teachers, nurses, police employees. So many lives lost in an instant and for no reason. Police say they found an arsenal in the killer's home and in his hotel room, some 42 guns they've reported so far, thousands of rounds of ammunition, explosive materials in his car. At this point, the police are still investigating why he did this 64-year-old gunman with no criminal past or apparent connection to any agenda or any reason that would have led to this madness. Now, the president is saying that we're all united in the pain and the grief that is everywhere here in Las Vegas, and he's going to come to this place tomorrow. But in just minutes, he's going to head to Puerto Rico, where there is an entirely different type of grief on the ground there. There is a humanitarian crisis ongoing, and we have all of the news covered for you. Begin with Jean Casares, who is following the investigation here. Jean.
Chris, there will be no trial here because the shooter is dead and they believe he acted alone. But the investigation continues on so many levels for so many reasons. But one of those reasons is his intent. Why did he do this? The amazing premeditation that went into this to target 22,000 innocent people.
Authorities are learning more about the gunman responsible for the Las Vegas massacre, 64-year-old Stephen Paddock. The retired accountant firing dozens of rounds onto thousands of concert goers about 500 yards away from two hotel windows he smashed on the 32nd floor at the Mandalay Bay. Police searching floor by floor until they found Paddock's room. This video shot by an NBC journalist staying at the hotel. Paddock exchanged fire with police through his hotel room door, shooting one security guard in the leg.
Everyone in the hall needs to move back. All units move back.
Breach. Police say Paddock took his life before a SWAT team stormed the room using explosives. Police recovering an arsenal of 23 weapons from Paddock's hotel room, including multiple rifles, some with scopes. Police say he had been staying at the hotel since last Thursday in a large suite. Investigators also finding another 19 weapons at his home in nearby Mesquite.
Additional firearms, some explosives, and several thousand rounds of ammo, along with some electronic devices that we are evaluating at this point.
Investigators believe the guns were purchased legally, but according to law enforcement, initial reports suggest at least one rifle was altered to function as an automatic weapon. A gun shop owner in Utah is certain he sold a shotgun to Paddock earlier this year.
He didn't set off any of my alarms, anything that I felt like there's a problem in any way, shape, or form with him. He was a normal, everyday guy that walks into my door 50,000 times a day.
Police say Paddock wasn't on their radar with no criminal past and believe he acted alone. His brother Eric Paddock left stunned by the carnage, telling CNN he never exhibited any violent tendencies and had no affiliations with any terror or hate groups.
He bought the machine guns and he did this. He's never even drawn his gun. It makes no sense. He did not own machine guns that I knew of. This is something just incredibly wrong happened to my brother.
His brother says Paddock was a successful real estate investor who owned and rented several properties across multiple states. He also had an affinity for gambling, according to this couple who lived next door to Paddock for 2 years in Florida.
He was a gambler and a speculator, and he told us that right up front, since he was from Vegas. And he did a little online gambling, and he also did it in Vegas.
But the family has a troubled past. Paddock's father, Benjamin, was a convicted bank robber who escaped from prison in the late 60s and was on the FBI's most wanted list. Neighbors shocked by the news, some even describing him as a gentle giant.
You wouldn't recognize him as being anything out of the norm.
We learned at the very last press conference last night that they in fact did find a computer in that hotel room. Forensic investigators will be combing it to look at what he researched, who he corresponded with, what they might know, and finally, were there any writings that he made on that computer to say why he wanted to target innocent people? Chris?
All right, Gene, thank you very much. Let's discuss the latest on the investigation. We have CNN law enforcement analyst James Gagliano. James, good to have you, as you has been all morning. So we don't know why. If we don't know why, we're not going to know if it's terrorism, because terrorism, while it feels like it just connotes a sense of this was really bad, it's actually a term of art that shows that something was motivated to a purpose. We don't know the purpose, so we can't deal with that. And in terms of what we have to look at here, how he got all these weapons, it could have been done legally, and he modified them to be automatic fire. If he didn't do it in a close time period, that's what the law allows.
Yeah, let's look, Chris. Let's unpack what the responding officers had to deal with after hearing those sounds. We listened to the gunfire and just the volume, the rapidity of shots. The way that tactical resolution has been done in the United States, there were no SWAT teams prior to 1966. 1966 was University of Texas Clock Tower, Charles Whitman, and that really was the genesis of SWAT. Let's fast forward to 1998, okay? 1998, Columbine happens, right? We have Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. They attack a school, and at that point in time, law enforcement was still dealing with what we call law enforcement clears, slow and steady, and there was never intermingling of local forces with state forces with federal forces. We learned that we can't do that anymore because responding officers aren't going to come from a homogenous unit. They're going to be a mixed match group. And that's what happened here. I looked closely at the timeline like you and I were discussing before, and it was about 11 minutes from the first shots that took place at 10:08 Vegas time, 11 minutes until a heterogeneous group of some security guards and police officers, sheriff's deputies arrived and were shot at. And I think one of the officers was grievously wounded. It was then an hour and 15 minutes until the tactical team actually arrived with explosive breaching capabilities. This is critical because this is not a skill set. I served on the FBI hostage rescue team. I led the New York City FBI SWAT team. These are skill sets that only teams that are full-time teams typically have.
Well, let's also give some people some context for what
Sure.
they were dealing with in terms of atmospherics. Let's play the gunfire, because you have to remember that you react to what you encounter, and listen to what they were dealing with. Now, I mean, look, the last time I heard anything like that, I was in a war zone, half a world away. How do you deal with that from a first responder perspective? You know that you're dealing with automatic, gunfire.
That type of sustained rate of fire, it's withering fire, and you're right. It's the sounds that we think of, those that have been in combat or those that have watched movies, war movies. For the responding officers, many of them that were armed only with sidearms, Chris, they were armed with pistols that just don't have the penetration power. And the fact that the subject could be on the other side of the door. Now, these are steel frame doors. The hotels have heavy steel doors.
You can't just kick it in.
You can't just kick it in. Very difficult to mechanically breach. They're just tough to do that. And that's why explosive breaching was used here. But also, the subject had weaponry and ammunition that could have pierced those doors while the officers are trying to get in. And in hostage rescue or a barricaded subject situation like this, here are the 4 components you need. Speed, surprise, which they didn't have, they couldn't have, violence of action, and a fail-safe breach. And obviously getting in was the important thing. And that's essentially, I guess, when the subject ended up taking his life, he probably planned on committing suicide or committing suicide by cop.
So a lot went into that window that we're examining in terms of multiple reports of things they had to deal with, having it at such a remote place, some 500 yards away, and then knowing you were dealing with a madman with a cannon, essentially, on the other side. James, thank you for taking us through it.
Thanks for having me.
Time means different things based on the circumstances. The more we learn, the more you can help us understand. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so we're dealing with that part of the investigation. Of course it matters. Of course it matters how he got the guns. Of course there's a discussion to be had, and you should have it in the moment like this, because this is when people are listening. But who survived, how they did it, how they helped others, who was lost, those stories matter just as much. How we survive these situations winds up being the legacy going forward. Lisa Fine, she was one of the people there. She was in the VIP section with her friends. She had to hide under the bleachers when she heard these gunshots. Imagine what she had to live through. She kept shooting the video that you're looking at right now. People running for their lives, helping us understand what was going on. Watch a little bit of it.
It's not a real gun. That doesn't sound like a real gun. It is. That is a real gun.
All right, we're joined now by Lisa Fine, as well as Brian Claypool. He was also in that VIP section at the concert and says he wasn't even supposed to be there. And now this is a moment that obviously is going to define his life for some time to come. But Lisa, while I have you, thank God you're both well. You have an explanation for why you were shooting that cell phone video that I haven't heard in a long time, but boy, does it resonate with me. You were shooting that video because there was someone you wanted to make sure who got to see what was going on. Tell us why you were shooting.
Yeah, I decided that if I was going to die, I wanted my family, my kids, my son Brandon and my daughter Ashley, I wanted them to know what happened in the last moments of my life if I was going to die. It was terrifying.
That is heavy. You are there, you're hiding, you're shooting with that cell phone video. What were you telling yourself? I get that you wanted people to remember where you were, give them something to help them understand. But what were you telling yourself about how you would get out of it?
It was like I don't even know how I remained so calm, quite frankly. It was definitely an out-of-body experience, just like this is really happening, this can't be happening. It sounded like a war zone, and the screaming and the death was happening around me because the vantage point that I was at, I could see people just going down, like as the bullets were spraying, and they were just running for their lives, and they were falling, and I just couldn't believe what was happening right in front of my face. All those precious people, and we thought we were going to die, and my friends and I, my instincts just kicked in, like, just get down. The only chance we really have is just to take cover any way we can, and we were lucky. We were at that particular spot that horrible night, and I just said, just get down, get down. What was really frightening to me was that people were panicking and running, and I thought they're human targets right now, and it just took my breath away. There are really no words to describe that moment.
I'm sort of the
because you think you're going to die, and you imagine the
here.
pain of what that would be like to be shot.
Tom Petty, the singer and songwriter who connected
Thank God
California
it
rock
just stayed
to deep Southern
as an
heritage,
idea for
died
you,
in Los Angeles.
because for
He was
so many it
66.
wound up becoming the reality. You and
He rose to
Brian,
fame with
you're
the
here.
Heartbreakers,
It's good
the
to
band he
be able to
formed
shake
in
your
the
woman hand this morning. I
mid-1970s.
see.
With them and on his own, he wrote pithy, hard-hitting songs
I
that gave
really
1960s roots a
I
contemporary
know.
polish. His voice was
I know
great,
it's hard.
and he
It's
had a
so
Florida
helpful
drawl
for people
that
to
he never
understand
hit.
what was survived.
His
When
music
you
was a
watch
staple
it,
of rock
you
radio
know you
through
made it through.
decades, with hits like
But
Refugee,
this stays
Don't
with you,
Come
doesn't
Around
it?
Here No More,
I'm
Free Fall,
actually feeling
Into
a
the
little
Great
bit
Wide
guilty
Open,
now.
and American Girl.
Because I've
He sold
avoided
millions of albums
seeing
and
the
headlined arenas
victims
and
and seeing
festivals
pictures
well
of people
into
that are killed,
2017.
and I was there. And they're a lot younger
In
than
the late
me.
1980s, he joined Bob Dylan, George Harrison,
And
Roy
they don't get to
Orbison,
go home.
and Jeff
I
Lynne
get to go
to
home
form the
today,
tongue-in-cheek
back to
supergroup
LA to
called
see
The
my daughter.
Traveling Wilburys,
But they
which
don't.
released 2
And I'm
successful albums.
having trouble understanding that, comprehending that. I'm feeling a little guilty. I've heard heroic acts.
In 2014,
and I'm now
Tom Petty and the
processing, did I do
Heartbreakers
enough?
released their 13th
So I'm
studio
going
album.
through some guilt.
I'm really excited.
Did I help enough
I know
people?
I really got something.
It was called Hypnotic Eye, and it
screaming,
entered at
yeah.
number 1 on the Billboard charts, becoming the first chart
yelling.
topper in the band's 38-year
They didn't know
history.
what to do. We didn't know where
Regardless
the
of
shooter
fame,
was.
his songs stayed down
We
to
thought he was
earth,
gonna jump
with
over the
sturdy
fence.
guitar riffs and lyrics
We thought
that spoke
there
for
could have been 1,
underdogs
2, 3
and
shooters. And then at one point, I ended up being put into a little room. I was running. There was a break after the first 30 seconds of shooting, and I ran. And this heroic young Hispanic man was like, get in this room. And I go in this room, and I just keep seeing this image of these young, I go in this room under the bleachers, and there's 5 or 6 young women, like 20 years old. And they were just on their knees, and they were in a corner, and they were crying. And I just want to hope that I did enough to help them stay calm. But at that moment, I'm feeling like it's not fair. It's like you're thinking then, is it fair for them to die? Should I die? These are all going through your thoughts. Like I felt like maybe I actually stood in front of them. And I think I did that subconsciously. They were down and they were hiding behind this little corridor with wheels on it. And I just stood out in the front, and I'm thinking, maybe I should be, you know what I'm saying? It's like, who determines who gets killed in this? That's what I'm having trouble with. Based on where you're sitting, where you're standing. I saw a young woman in the general admissions section 15 feet in front of me get shot. She ended up dying. I happened to be in an area where I didn't get shot. So I guess I have to go the rest of my life wondering why did some of these people die? Why didn't I?
Look, you're dealing with questions that are going to be so hard, and you're not going to get the answers to all of them today. But one of the things that we know, because we've all been bathed in so many of these events, is there is only one person to blame for anything that happened that was wrong. And it ain't you, my brother. It is that monster who decided that somehow ending his life had to be connected to ending other people's lives. Yeah. Everything you did was more than you should have ever been expected to have to do. You got to tell yourself that. Why you survived, what that means for you to do with your life, those are all beautiful challenges for you to take on now and to pass on to your daughter. But don't spend a moment thinking about whether or not you were in any way in the wrong in a situation like that.
I want you to know, and your audience to know, how beautiful those people were at that festival. That's what hurts me the most. Such a beautiful crowd of people. Everybody there was just celebrating life, taking a break from the everyday grind and struggles, in such a beautiful crowd of people. And now I've got to go home, and I've been avoiding looking at who's been harmed and who's been killed. And eventually I'm going to see pictures of people who perished. And I've got to tell you, that's going to be the most painful thing for me to go through, because I probably will have seen some of those people and maybe chatted with some of those people.
But at the same time, You don't want to let the picture of that guy dominate what people remember, and you don't want those lives to have been stolen by that guy without any kind of recourse, so that their loved ones and the people that they touched in their lives remember that they were more than just the end of that guy's muzzle.
Yeah.
And that matters too. And for people like you to come forward and say that you made it, you know, and say that that's not where it ends for you, and that your life goes on, that matters too.
Yeah.
Does that sink in at all? Or
yeah,
is
it
hard?
does. It creates introspection now. It creates, you know, I give you an example. I bumped into somebody in the lobby a few minutes ago, and I noticed his wristband. I still have I can't take this off for quite a while. And we looked at each other. He recognized me, and I said, "How are you doing?" And he hesitated, and he goes, "I'm okay." He goes, "We get to live." He goes, "We get to live." And I just got in the van to come over here, and I was just like in tears coming over here. We get to live. So it's a mixed blessing, because I feel good about that. I get to go home and see my daughter today. Today is my birthday. That's why I was out there. Thank you. That's why I came to this festival. But when he said that, I had mixed emotions again. Yeah, we do, but what about, you see what I'm saying? Like,
I get it.
What about these innocent people? Do you realize we were just at a country music festival trying to enjoy life? And somebody asked me the morning of the shooting, they had a great question. They said, "What will you do differently now that you survived? What are you going to do differently?" I struggled, Chris, so much with that question, because I was at that concert doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. Take a break from the work. I'm a lawyer. Maybe I work too much. No, stay an extra day. I was supposed to fly back Sunday night at 7:50. But I was looking out of the 24th floor of the Mandalay Bay, and I said, "Look at that beautiful venue. When am I ever going to be able to do this again? I'm staying an extra day." So I stayed that extra day, and when I was in that room, I had thoughts in my mind. Am I going to die in that room because I made a decision to not fly on that 7:50 flight? So I had to go through that as well. But
well, look, we've heard it before, and it's always trite until it's true, which is everything happens for a reason. And I don't have the answers for that. It's hard enough for me to come up with the questions after so many of these events that we see again and again, and we meet with the same frustrations. But for people, for you, like you, there is a blessing in these kinds of situations, but you have to figure out what it is. And while you've been talking, it's such a relatable experience to Lisa. Lisa's been watching, and I'm being told that this is hard for you. And of course it is. You know, you were sitting there staring through your cell phone, worried that this would be the last thing your kid sees, but she'll see you. And now you have that going for you. So what does that mean for you in terms of balancing it against what you know you lived through?
I feel like to see those heroes that stepped up and went out there while the bullets were just raining down on everybody. I saw two heroes that right in front of my face were risking their lives, and I will never forget that for the rest of my life, and I still don't even know if they're alive. When I saw a truck, when we finally escaped with our lives, I saw a truck that had bodies in it. They were just piled up, and someone was saving them. I didn't know who was dead, who was alive, but my heart just breaks. I am completely numb. I haven't slept since the event happened, and there's nothing that I can express to you what that is like. And all those people, there were thousands and thousands of people there just living life. And it's just so frightening that you could just be anywhere and you just never know. And the biggest thing I take away from this is just do not let this horrible, horrible excuse for a human being be the person that stops us from enjoying life. But we just need to plan and just be prepared. It's all I can think about. You just never know. And I could have died. And I was with my family last night, and we were talking, and they said this could be a very different situation. And my friends and we got out alive. And I still don't understand it and why. I mean, it was just luck of the draw. If you were in the wrong place, you're dead. If you just, there are no words. It was horrific. It was a war zone.
You're taught that.
What does it mean to you when you're hearing Lisa? What do you want her to know about what you guys share now that you're both trying to figure out?
I think it's important what I'm trying to learn through this is that there are families that are going through so much grief right now. And this could be a great opportunity for us now to really minister to these families. They need their faith restored in life. And this is an opportunity for people like you and I and you and people across this country to really get down and be supportive of these families and let them know how much we hurt for their hurt, but that there's going to be hope at the end of the day. And I think that's what's going to try to help me get through this. That I've got to get through my own questioning. Did I do enough? Why am I alive? Why are they dead? Why are they harmed? I need to start transferring that now into what can we do as a group collectively to try to uplift these families, because I just can't imagine. Look at what we're going through is nothing compared to those who've been really harmed and who are dead. So this is an opportunity. We've got so much divide in our country right now. We have to use this as an opportunity, a platform to try to come together, work together. President Trump's coming, fantastic, but let's let these families know how much we care and there is hope and we're gonna live in a better time. That's really what I'm trying to take from this. Maybe I can make a difference.
Lisa, what does that mean to you?
Every single word he is saying is exactly how I feel. And if I was with him right now, I would just hug him. And I just feel like the world is really stepping up and just being there for everybody. I mean, because everybody knows Vegas is a Disneyland for adults. We went there to just celebrate and have fun. And he was so right. That crowd was a beautiful crowd. It was the most fun I've ever had. And just to see that the people that I was out there with, I was there for 3 days, and I probably walked past people that didn't know they were gonna die.
Country Music Entertainer of the Year,
even,
Jason.
Like, continue to think about it because it hurts so bad. Like, just those were families that were dying, and it's still I feel what he's feeling. Like, I just can't believe I'm alive, and I don't get it. And there's that sense of guilt and what could have I done? What could have I can't imagine anybody going through this and watching people die in front of their face. It is the worst thing. And this screaming, and my heart goes out to them, and I hope that the world just embraces the people that lost their loved ones and understands. And I do want us to unite as, a united people and just not let this horrible man or people that do things like this win. We have to take a stand for this. Something's got to change.
We've all lived through these before. You've seen this happen in different ways. Yes, this is the deadliest one that we've had to date. We all wish we'll never have to say that again. But what do you want people to know? You've watched these. You've watched these as a viewer before. Now you've lived it. You're a survivor now, Lisa. What do people need to know about what these events mean?
I get asked that question, and it just seems like it just happened. Haven't even processed it all. And I think the biggest thing is that I've always been a person that just loves life. And I always said to my loved ones, tomorrow's not promised. That's something I've always said. And they always, it means something completely different now because that statement is so real. And just love your loved ones and be the best person you can be. That's all we've got.
And hopefully that's more than enough. Lisa, thank you so much for sharing what you lived through, sharing your videos so that people can understand what it was like to be there. And Brian, Lisa said she wanted to hug you. I don't do it for you, I do it for me. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're here. And I hope you figure out what to do with the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. And blessings to Lisa, too.
As well. And to all of you who made it through. That's why we're telling the story, so people can take strength in your survival and seeing that your lives go on and that there's meaning in that, and not just meaning to the madness, meaning to what takes us forward as well. I'm sorry you guys had to live through what you did to get this understanding.
Thank you very much.
But I hope you use it in a way that helps make your life better, a way that helps make your life better. I really do.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Lisa, you be well.
Thank you.
We'll keep telling these stories, and we'll stay in touch. And I hope when you get home, it means everything to you, and then some.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here from Las Vegas. There is a big investigation going on. There are stories like these, and there are people who aren't going to get to tell their own story. So we're going to have to tell it for them. Please take a moment and look at some of the faces that were lost.
Introducing Lean 13 from Nutrisystem. Lose up to 13 pounds in your first month, guaranteed.
Lose up to 13 pounds fast with the new Lean 13 from Nutrisystem.
Your 13 can turn into 20, 30, 50, even more. I'm Marie and I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem. You'll see results right away. Count, measure, meetings? No, not with Nutrisystem.
Order your 28-day plan right now and we'll rush you Lean 13. Get specially designed meals, plus 1 week of new NutriCrush bars to crush cravings free. And 1 week of turbo shakes to bust belly bloat free.
Bye-bye, stubborn belly fat.
Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and we'll even throw in FedEx shipping free. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall your first month.
Your first 13 pounds? Gone.
Go online or call 888-902-THIN right now and get new Lean 13 with bars and shakes free.
You can't just inherit 4,000 acres.
We set up a trust, and that's how we transferred the stock.
Let's run this by BDO.
It was their idea.
People who know BDO.
I've got a ticket to the moon. I'll be leaving here any day soon. Ticket to the moon, to the moon. Ticket to the moon,
On October 13th,
If you want freedom, you have to fight for it.
we all need Marshall. Critics are raving. It's an inspiring call to action. Marshall, rated PG-13.
If you just sign that first
I'm
one
so
there.
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the math here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation fee?
I'm so sorry. This just is not.
What we talked about.
Get the car without the car salesman. Carvana.com, the better way to buy a car.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Okay, welcome back. We do have a little breaking news because the president has just boarded Air Force One. He is on his way to Puerto Rico to obviously deal with the aftermath of the crisis there. Before he left, he spoke briefly with reporters. Here's what he said.
Look, we have a tragedy. We're going to do, and what happened in Las Vegas is in many ways a miracle. The police department has done such an incredible job, and we'll be talking about gun laws as time goes by. But I do have to say, how quickly the police department was able to get in was really very much of a miracle. They've done an amazing job. Go ahead, John. Well, I think she's come back a long way, and, I think it's now acknowledged what a great job we've done, and people are looking at that. And in Texas and in Florida, we get an A+, and I'll tell you what, I think we've done just as good in Puerto Rico, and it's actually a much tougher situation. But now the roads are cleared, communication's starting to come back. We need their truck drivers. Their drivers have to start driving trucks. We have to do that. So on a local level, they have to give us more help. But I will tell you, the first responders, the military, FEMA, they have done an incredible job in Puerto Rico. And whether it's her or anybody else, they're all starting to say it. I appreciate very much the governor and his comments. He has said we have done an incredible job, and that's the truth. We'll talk about that later. He was a sick man, a demented man, a lot of problems, I guess, and we're looking into him very, very seriously, but we're dealing with a very, very sick individual. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Political analyst David Gregory is here with me to talk about all of the challenges facing the president in this day ahead. What did you just hear there, David?
Well, I mean, the president's talking about Las Vegas. We'll hear a lot more from him. He was cryptic when he said we'll talk about gun laws later. He doesn't want to get into such a politically difficult issue today, probably not even tomorrow. I think there'll be a lot of questions about how and whether the president will weigh in on any kind of gun restrictions, because we know what a difficult debate that is, and we know how fruitless that has been in the wake of these mass shootings. He has a different ideological past. He may be more willing, since he's supported gun restrictions in the past. He's got a political base that will be very much against that. So that's something to watch.
I mean, we'll see. And we heard the Steve Bannon basically throw down the gauntlet and say that that would be horrible for the base if the president were to have any movement on that towards gun control. But let's talk about Puerto Rico. There is a strange message that I'm having a hard time getting my mind around coming out of the White House, which is if only these local truck drivers in Puerto Rico would show up, the crisis and the problems would be solved. There is a massive fuel shortage. There are not just trucks lined up, filled with gas, idling, waiting for the drivers to show up. We talked to General Buchanan, who says his number one concern, his number one challenge today is that there's not enough fuel on that island and roads are impassable. I don't understand what is happening with the blaming of the truck drivers for this problem.
It's not just that. I don't understand why the president has to get into this business of making it all about him. I mean, even a hurricane on Puerto Rico somehow has to be a reflection of him. And why won't more people say that he gets an A+? I mean, it is really appalling. As the president of the United States, there are local leaders who are frustrated. He may think that's legitimate. He may think it's illegitimate. The bottom line is they're frustrated. Everybody can understand that. He's going to go down there. He's going to marshal resources to help. He ought to be speaking about it in those terms, that the government is here to do as much as it can to work with local officials and to protect our people. And that's the message he ought to be conveying, and he gets in his own way by lashing out at people who criticize him instead of doing everything that he can. Look, FEMA is doing what it can. He's got an excellent Homeland Security advisor within the White House. These are difficult problems and challenges to meet, but they're fundamental in terms of what government is supposed to be doing. I think the president has to recognize that. It raises the potential for awkward meetings on the ground in Puerto Rico, to say the least.
We know the mayor of San Juan is going to be at some of these hearings. That's who he's engaged in most of this war of words with, because she's made a passionate plea to say, we need help. We don't have enough water. We don't have enough fuel. We don't have enough food. So she's saying, please help us. She also went so far as to say, we will roll up our sleeves and form a human chain if need be, but give us access to these containers. This is Air Force One taxiing down the runway as it is heading off to Puerto Rico. So that will be interesting to watch today, what happens when he and the mayor meet each other.
And here's the thing about this moment that we're in that I think is really significant.
We are
experiencing a national tragedy because of a mass murder on the scale that we've seen in Las Vegas. We are experiencing natural disasters, one after the other, that are not just taxing leadership and raising questions about how government can respond. There's longer-term problems. This is different than the kind of basic competency questions that any president faces, any administration faces. How he handles these moments will say a lot about how he's viewed as a president who can get things done. This is the core of what it means to lead. How you lead the government, how you deal with events that you could not have foreseen. That's what and how leadership is defined. And we've seen presidents defined that way in the past. In our recent history, this becomes a very important moment for the president to look very deeply within himself about the kind of leadership he wants to project and provide and who he's going to rely on.
And it will be interesting to see what happens there on the ground if these are just meet and greets and there's just a lot of handshaking and a lot of sort of reassurance, which obviously will be welcome, or if he does go to the more remote areas to see with his own eyes that people are really still struggling for food
And look, it could be very
supplies.
difficult for him to get out to remote places because of what the effect of that could be when, say, you have a large motorcade and things like that. The bottom line is his presence there is to say to Puerto Ricans and to the rest of the country, we are committed for the long haul.
Yeah. David Gregory, thank you very much. All right, let's go back to Las Vegas, where Chris has been all morning reporting on the aftermath of the massacre there. Chris.
All right, thank you, Allison. Two quick things. One, the president isn't going to have to travel far to see the need in Puerto Rico. We didn't go far on purpose. He's also going to learn firsthand what it means to be Boricua and what it means to have the strength of character and of purpose that the people on that island have. They have everything inside of them they need. It's what's outside themselves that's in short supply. So we hope he gets that when he's on the ground. Here in Las Vegas, we wish that this was a complete shock, what happened here. We know that it is the worst of its kind, the massacre of 59 people, more than 500 injured, and yet it can't be entirely a shock. We've seen too much of this, too much evil, too much repeated, too many patterns. Joining us now is the latest leader to deal with this type of catastrophe, the Las Vegas Mayor, Carolyn Goodman. And of course, these are the moments you pray you never get into as a mayor, but you're forced to deal with it. And by all accounts, you've been doing your job and doing it well. We know that you heard the show this morning. You heard a couple of the survivors who get through, and it's a horrible struggle for them to reconcile having made it through and have that blessing and dealing with what it means. And there's so many who are in their position this morning, Madam Mayor. It's not easy.
There's a Latin phrase, carpe diem, seize the day. I think for those who survived all of it, it is about what you do with your life, how compassionate you are for others, how you stop asking what other people can do, but see what you yourself can do. We're so blessed that we have these survivors and so tragically distraught about what has happened to the 59 innocent people who came to our wonderful community just to enjoy a wonderful country western activity and show. And I must compliment our first responders and our law enforcement, and I know you've heard it again and again, but they didn't just happen to do their jobs. They have been so well trained. This is such a safe community. You know, we have 43 million visitors every year, 350,000 a weekend or during the week. And so our law enforcement, our first responders, our hospitals, we're always ready, and not that we want to be put into action. We have Nellis, we have Creech, we have so much going on here. Our convention business is enormous. And yes, it's a place where our community just is brought so deeply down to its knees right now and responding with giving blood, waiting in line 5 and 6 hours at the blood banks. And we have all these people. When I drove home last night about 10 o'clock, there were more people out there with rental trucks delivering bottles and food and things to the hospitals for the families that are there attending to their loved ones who still remain in the hospital situation. But it is something. This will not define us. This crazy miscreant will not define who this community is and will not define these people. What we need to do is concentrate on the beautiful lives, these innocent people who had families, and they're here and they are going to live with this forever. And for those who were there and those who were living here or visiting or have seen your show or have been on social media, this is another sad, sad day in the world. It really is in the world. We know we have these sick people that are bound to go ahead and continue to repeat it. They will not define who these people are in this community any more than they will all of us who love this country and love freedom and know that we, each one of us, have a responsibility to do our individual part to make it better and to stop this from happening.
You know, Madam Mayor, when something like this happens, one of the after-action points, one of the lessons is, well, what do we do now to prevent this the next time? Some of the remedies make sense until you have to imagine them as a common practice. Are you going to magnetometer? Are you going to have people go through hotels, and have to have them go through some type of resonance? What that would do to extending the time of getting in and out of hotels. And I know that sounds like a frivolous concern right now in light of the tragedy, but to the everyday experience of going to a hotel, is that something that's going to be on your plate now to consider?
I do have some concepts, but keep in mind that's private business. And those people that run the businesses will determine what they're going to do. I represent the city of Las Vegas, and I represent Las Vegas to the world. Our people are prepared. That's what we're supposed to do. We are to be preemptively prepared. And the first thing I did when I took office was go back to the Federal Emergency Management Training in Maryland. I learned a great deal, spent 5 days with a huge team of people so that we knew immediately what we were to do in a first response. Our people are so professional. I mean, they were exemplary. In the hospitals, you cannot imagine how quickly everybody returned to hospital. Even if they'd just gotten off that day, they were back there. And I mean a full staff in every hospital responding. And then this wonderful community, this diverse community coming in, bringing food, doing everything they could, standing in these long lines to give blood because we asked them. They said, what can we do right now? We want to do something. Please let us help. And the reality was, we said, blood and funds. The sheriff had set up an account, and within 24 hours, we had over $2 million in that account to help these sad families and friends of these lost 59 innocent lives. So it is the role of government to be there.
The reason we knew the name...
And we will stay on all of the investigating, what we can learn about how this was able to happen, how it was responded to, and hopefully we all wind up in a better place. Madam Mayor, thank you for joining us this morning. I know this is a difficult and busy time for you.
Thank you.
All right, a big part of this story is the response to the evil. There were first responders that had to jump into action when this began here in Las Vegas. The city's fire chief is going to join me next. But as we have been doing this morning and for days to come, do not forget who was lost in this situation. Please take a look at the victims of this attack.
When I received the diagnosis, I knew at that exact moment, I'm beating this. My main focus was to find a team of doctors.
It's not just picking a surgeon, it's picking the care team and feeling secure where you are.
Visit cancercenter.com/breast.
When we love someone, we want to do right by them.
What is this?
But habits are hard to break.
Honey, where are the habaneros?
And then there are things we can't control, like snoring. Now the answer is right under your nose. Introducing Theravent Anti-Snore Strips. Clinically shown to reduce snoring with the power of your own breathing.
Nice try.
There are always things that are hard to let go of. Now, snoring isn't one of them. Theravent. The answer is right under your nose.
Kevin, meet your father.
Kevin.
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 Trusted advice for life.
Kevin, how's your mom?
Thank you.
Life well planned. See what a Raymond James financial advisor can do for you.
Can I kick it? Yes, you can. Can I kick it? Yes, you can. Can I kick it? Yes, you can. Well, I'm gone.
"59 lives stolen by an evil man. 527 injured here in Las Vegas. This is the deadliest mass shooting we've seen in modern history. Many people are still fighting for their lives. And as hard as it is to believe right now, this could have been worse. There were thousands of people who were sitting ducks for a man who was loaded and armed to the teeth Joining us now is Clark County Fire Chief Greg Castle, and he is just one of the leaders of first responders that jumped into action here. Chief, thank you for making the time to be with us, my brother. But
you're welcome.
When we look at the time frame here and the variables, you can never train for a situation like this. How did the first responders negotiate this situation and act?
Well, we never trained for a scenario like this. Somebody so well armed, 32 stories up with an open venue across the street. We do train for what we call hostile MCIs frequently. How we integrate with our law enforcement partners and what we call rescue task forces, where we embed firefighters with police officers and we go into harm's way wearing ballistic gear so we can try to get to people as fast as we can to stop bleeding and help them breathing to save lives. We know that immediate combat care is what's needed. So we trained on that. We never anticipated anything of this magnitude.
When you were getting into it and you were hearing the reports of how many and where they're moving, and we've never heard fire like that here. I mean, that is war theater stuff of, a world away. How did you process the need?
Well, one, I got to say, my men and women, and the men and women of all the fire departments and police departments here did a wonderful job on Sunday night. By the time I arrived, coming from home, the shooting was over, thank God. And but my men and women were well engaged in taking care of the patients. And I talked to some of them I've known for many, many years, and they're definitely wounded a little bit by this mentally right now. We've got some scars to heal up on our own.
I mean, look, it's something that you men and women have to deal with all the time. That's why you're the best of us, and that's why we revere our first responders. But that kind of fire